Yo, what is up? New American tank line in Super Test. This is inspired by World of Tanks Blitz because these tanks have been in World of Tanks Blitz for some time now, and now it's going to make an appearance on the PC version. Let's check out the video and I will share with you some of my thoughts.
The American HLYO company introduced tank concepts with non-standard configurations. Each project had rather unusual shapes. One of the main features of the vehicles was a reserve track that could be used if the main one was destroyed. They were never produced, but each tank was quite feasible, at least as a prototype. It was only a matter of time until such extraordinary vehicles appeared in World of Tanks.
So we've got double tracks starting from tier 6. After the T1 heavy, it will break off to 2 branches and 1 tier 8 premium.
And 1 tier 8 premium tank. The first among the newcomers is the Polak Tank. This is a transitional tier 6 vehicle with no unique mechanics. However, the tank boasts a unique appearance, and it already gives you a taste of the whole
not
branch.
like a super good looking tank, and there isn't really anything special unless it also has the double tracks.
And depression angles.
This one definitely has double tracks. This is tier 7 and it looks quite tall and it looks quite big. The turret is huge. The model looks kind of unfinished. It looks like that they've not added textures to this tank yet.
Unusual crew placement meant the front of the
So it looks like it's got good frontal armor, this tank.
Improving its protection. The following tanks developed this idea.
Here's the tier 8.
Tier 8. The M3Y.
Again, that double tracks.
Here, the experimental engineering is even more obvious. The frontal projection of the turret is small thanks to its elongated shape. The front hull design resembles the T110E5. The armor is solid. It's enough to withstand hits from vehicles of the same tier or lower. Its 10 degrees of gun depression will be very useful when taking
So great for hull down, and it's got armor like a E5.
Tier 9 tank, the M6Y.
Here's where it gets a little bit crazy. Now it starts looking like a Concept 1B.
Your attention is immediately drawn to the elongated shape of the oscillating turret. It has additional features in the form of 2 cupolas that will definitely attract enemy shells. On the other hand, its turret and hull armoring is more than adequate. In terms of appearance and gameplay, the M6Y is almost a top-tier vehicle. But we all understand what this is all about. Tier 10, the M5Y. A living example of what can happen when you ask too many
another very tall
what-ifs.
tank.
The narrow, elongated turret conceals many surprises. Its armor is adequate, but not particularly impressive. But here's what's important. The shape of the frontal projection is designed to deflect shells like ping pong balls. And it's quite hard to hit such a narrow turret, even from medium range. The M5Y also has something with which to respond. Its 120mm gun with great elevation depression angles means it can hold its own against many opponents one-on-one. The top-tier Yo that crests over a hill looks a bit like who knows what. Seems like that's its character. And we haven't even talked about the reserve tracks yet, but that's for later. First, the Tier 8 premium tank.
So this is a heavy American tank, tier 8 premium with a turret that looks like a Kampfpanzer 07.
But this first impression is misleading. The premium is just as non-conformist as the other Yo tanks. Its hull resembles that of the T110E5 with good armor and a distinctive skirt, but the turret is something else. First, it's cylindrical, which is not uncharacteristic of American vehicles. Because of that, the turret is protected equally in the frontal projection, even if you rotate it.
It won't matter because you can pen this with heat shells 100%.
It's framed by a rather thick shield, and despite what you may think, it's not a screen. The shield and the turret are one and the same. That means if you hit the shield and penetrate the armor, you will cause damage. There is no way a shell penetrates the shield without causing any damage. The weak point of the structure is the commander's cupola, which sits on top.
I think you can probably pen this with just premium shells.
Another questionable area is the turret's rear that sticks out from under the shield. There is less armor there than in places protected by the shield, of course. Since the turret oscillates independently from the shield, there is a notch under
I
the
don't
gun.
think this will be a
This is the
particularly
potential weak
strong
point, as there is
heavy
less
tank
armor here than on the
because
main
I
part
think
of
you
the
can
turret,
definitely
but the
pen
small
the
drawback
turret
is easily
with
outweighed
premium
by the
shells.
vehicle's advantages. The gun has great elevation depression angles, allowing it to take advantage of terrain irregularities. In this position, the weak point is almost invisible, and the M4Y itself is very capable. And most importantly, like most vehicles in the branch,
So here is the main
this
feature
premium
of
has a
these
unique
Yo
mechanic.
tanks, these Your tanks or whatever tank you want to call it. It's the double tracks, and check out how it works.
Reserve tracks are a completely fresh take on familiar game mechanics. In battle, it often happens that your track gets destroyed. You repair it, but you then become immobilized right away. As a result, you lose a lot of hit points or even get destroyed. The Yo tanks are not immune to such an outcome, but they have an ace up their sleeve. Or rather, in their suspension. The new American tanks have a pair of smaller tracks in addition to the main ones. If you look closely at the tank, you can see them on the rear rollers. Those are the reserve tracks. If the front roller gets hit and the main track is destroyed, the vehicle doesn't stop. It can still continue moving. However, its movement speed is reduced a little. The initial super test settings decrease it by 30%. The destroyed track remains on the ground and returns to its place when repaired. It's a game formality. Just like
Here's the
ability
difference.
to instantly repair a
If your
track
tank
on
is
any
moving,
other
it's going to
vehicle.
take more time to repair your main tracks. If you are stationary, your tracks will
You lose another
repair
track on a
like
Yo tank,
normal
you
tracks.
lose another 30% of speed. But it can still turn and move forward or backward. To immobilize the vehicle completely, you have to destroy at least one reserve track, in addition to the main one. In this case, the tank will come to a stop and wait for repair.
Here you
Repairing
go.
them also has nuances. The reserve track is repaired first. The repair time is not final on the super test and will probably be less than the repair time of the main track. As soon as the reserve track is repaired, the repair of the main track begins. The vehicle can drive at this point, but a penalty is added to the repair time. If the tank remains stationary, there will be no penalty, and the main track will continue to be repaired at the standard speed. Also, a repair kit will repair all tracks at once. After all of the above, one might think that immobilizing a Yo tank is an event on its own. But actually, it can be achieved with a single shell if it hits the reserve track. The easiest way to do it is to shoot at the drive wheel from the side, on which both tracks are mounted. The shell
So
must
shoot the
cause
rear
enough
wheel and
damage
will
to
destroy
both
both
the main
tracks.
track and the reserve one. A similar
I think this
result
will
can
be
achieved
less
with a
likely
precise
shooting the
shot
front
at the
to
idler of the
damage
main
both
track,
tracks.
with a
I think this is
subsequent hit
less
to the reserve
possible.
track.
Shooting the rear wheel is the best option.
Also, don't forget that splash damage from an artillery
But remember, to
HE
repair
shell
the
can
tank,
destroy both
repair the
tracks
tracks,
without hitting the tank
you need to be
directly.
stationary to repair the main track quick.
Players should take this
If
into
you
account and
continue
try
to
to hide
move,
the weak
it'll
point.
repair very slowly.
Reserve tracks will potentially save you if the enemy decides to focus fire on your suspension. The ability to roll back behind a rock or a corner of a building when your track is destroyed gives you an extra chance to save yourself. At this point, some viewers might
Yeah,
be
obviously
thinking
you
they
will
can
still
leave
need
the
your
repair
repair kit
in
so
the
that you can
garage.
repair instantly and
And
retreat.
that's not such a crazy thought. With a
You will
reserve
still
track,
carry
you
a
always
repair
have
kit,
room for error.
100%.
Yes, you can lose a track, even two.
The only time I
What's the
see this
difference
tank
if you
being
add
useful
two
is
more?
when you are being double tracked and you can withdraw and
Shouldn't rush
escape.
to
That would be the only time
conclusions about the repair
the
kit.
double track will be
At the
useful.
very least,
Otherwise,
it repairs
this tank
other
is
important
not going to be a
vehicle
very
modules.
strong tank
A
because
useful
it is
thing.
so
Crew
big,
skills,
so
equipment,
tall.
consumables, and directives that affect repair
I don't
time
think
of other
it will
modules
be
also improve the repair time of
super
those
good. You know,
tracks.
it
And
won't
to
be
make
like a
it easier to follow,
T56. It won't
all
be like
vehicles
a
now have a new
VZ55.
characteristic.
It won't be
Suspension repair time.
super
Yo tanks
dominant
will have two values,
in
one for
the
the
actual
reserve
game
track,
itself.
one for the main one.
The tracks, yes,
When
you will
hovering
have
the
a slight
cursor, you will
advantage.
see what
You can
affects
get
this
away if you are
parameter
getting
and how.
focus fire, if you are
We
getting
talked about
double
the
tracked,
principles behind
but
the
there are
reserve
no other
tracks, but there are
instances
still
where
many questions
this is going to
regarding
be
balance.
extra
Which track
useful.
should be repaired
So while they
faster,
figure all
the
this
reserve
out
or
in
the
the
main
super
one?
test, we
What
will
should be
wait
the
for them
speed
to show
penalty?
up
Is
in the
30%
live
too
server
much or too
coming
little?
to you
How
soon.
much should the main
What do you
track
think of it?
repair be slowed
I
down
think
upon
it's
movement?
a
Only the
pretty
super
novel
test
idea,
will give us
but
the answers.
the problem is guys, we are now going into the realm of the a little bit absurd, if you ask me. You're getting more and more tanks that look like they don't belong in World War II, they don't belong in Cold War scenario. They look more like drone tanks, they look more like tanks like you know, remote control tanks. So yeah, what do you think? Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.